All right. Welcome, Mary Alice, again to the Lowcountry Book Club. We're so happy to have you and talk about the book club, one of our favorites of your titles, and everybody really enjoyed reading it. This book, the book club, it was published, what, 25 years ago?
What? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds crazy, doesn't it?
Because I was required when I wrote the book to use classics, and I chose classics for two reasons. One, of course, I would have to pay a lot of money to use quotes and titles from current books, but also I wanted to be sure people knew what they were. You don't want to discuss a book no one's ever heard of. So I think because of that, it's how books relate, how all of us play the books in our minds that we're reading. And
Right.
I think it's a timeless topic.
Okay, so
Well, you know what's one of the first things that struck me, because you wrote the book 25 years ago, is you're on the cutting edge. I mean, you were on the cutting edge of a lot of significant women's issues. I mean, I just kept thinking financial security, the infertility, infidelity, isolation, and female autonomy. I mean, bravo, because it makes the book still very, very current. And so what I wanted to ask, of all those really important themes that come through at the time that you wrote it, do you remember one or two being dominant for you in your mind?
Yeah. Well, the ones that I was most excited about was just, I was really interested in how women talked to one another. But that whole sense of how much we withhold and how much we share. And that was a kind of ahead of its time, because there's a lot of books more about that now. But 25 years ago, there weren't a great deal. And book clubs, if you remember, this was right about the time Oprah was bringing out the book club. And book clubs became a big deal.
Yes.
The paperback size was brought out that large for the book club.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons. And I've been in a book club for many years, and I loved them. And I always thought, only with those book clubs that we knew the people for a long time, and we developed a certain level of trust. They became friends, not just the people we met to discuss a book. You were able to divulge that topics in a book would elevate the discussion when we not only discussed the plot, costume, and themes and characters, but we discussed how those issues influenced our own lives. We shared details of our own lives. That's the highest form of book club.
Yes.
So I wanted to show that happened in a club, but in parallel in their personal lives, friends, how much they really share and how much animosity. I remember one said, "Oh, they fight all the time. I wouldn't want to be in that book club." And I thought, come on. You have a group of girlfriends, y'all gonna fight them. And
that was another question I was going to ask, or an observation on my part is I wasn't in a book club 25 years ago. And I mean, I think my grandmother was in a book club, but my mother wasn't, and I wasn't as a young woman. And so it has evolved, and now my daughters are in book clubs. It's wonderful. Everybody's in a book club. It's great.
Taking it over, Jenna Bush. I mean, it's a big deal to be part of the kind of book club. It's a marketing tool. Mm-hmm. But that was really about women getting together around the book. And we have to thank Oprah for that. And so that was the other first. The second one was, and I didn't anticipate this when I began the book. Well, yes, the second big one, was a huge point of writing the book, was about the second adolescence. What's Her Name came out with a book about second adolescence. It was called Passages. Gail she came out, and Passages was a big book in the 90s. And when this book came out, and she talked about when a woman reached 40, you have to understand, I was like just hitting 40. Oh, baby, such a baby. And I remember being struck by her concept that the second adolescence was when a woman finally appreciated at 40 that she's not just someone's daughter or someone's wife or someone's mother. She starts coming into her own. And
Yes.
and what she wants to do. And that's why divorces often happen.
Yes.
Things like that. And can I say, I think today 70 is the third adolescence. I really do. Or the third childhood, whichever state of dementia you're in, but you reach another sense of self. So that was important to me. I wanted to show a group of women in different careers, some married, some not, some getting divorced, how women come together and support one another during this new transition. And the third thing that I didn't realize until the end was with Midge. And increasingly at that time, my husband loved him dearly, psychiatrist, and I was always reading his material and trends. And the trend at that time was increasing number of women divorcing.
Yes.
And loneliness. And what intimacy meant. And the whole concept of intimacy was one that I felt was so important because whether you're single or married, it you can be very lonely in a marriage. But that sense of being touched, a hug, was just beginning to be explored. And I think the question of Midge was a really strong development of a woman.
Oh, yeah.
Taking care of her mother. I mean, I always meant to write another book
About her.
and Gabriella too. But just that, because I left those two behind a little bit. But her, it wasn't about was she gay. I don't think she really was. I think she wanted a relationship with a woman as a dear friend, to share everything with, to watch TV with popcorn. You know, a hug.
Yeah.
We need touch. And I felt that every one of these women showed ways that they needed that connection.
Well, and I mean, Midge says the book club is the only place where she felt supported and comfortable, you know, where she could be herself. It was the,
Yeah, I always hoped Oprah would knock on my door for this one because the movie, The Book Club, was stupid by comparison. I hate to say it. I mean, I think it really didn't show what the power of the book club was. It just wasn't really effective. You know, a book club is any organization or group that gathers people together, women in particular, because since the days of hunters and gatherers, the men went off to hunt, but the women stayed home and they cared for the young and the old and cooked and taught. And we've done that as part of our evolution.
Yeah.
And
we've convened.
Yeah, and I do think that book club gives us maybe one of the best opportunities to put topics together.
Right.
That
I would agree.
relevant issues, not just what are we going to wear tomorrow.
Right.
Hair, that kind of stuff.
So I wanted to ask about craft. In this book, in the book club, every chapter opens with a book quote or poem or verse that you chose to structure the novel around. And you know, how did you choose these? You know, were these books and poems, etc., that just spoke to you, or did they in some way suggest themselves as you were writing? Did you have them in the beginning? How did all that come about?
Thank you. That, this might have actually been the most literary complex book that I've ever written. It was the first time that I used chapter headings for a purpose. When I later wrote all the environmental books, I used chapter headings as a teacher's tool. But in this book, it was more important. It was determined by me that I wanted to show how books affected the women reading them during that week. You know, how it infiltrated their thoughts and helped maybe their decisions. And sometimes just a scene plays in their mind or a line. So it was so important to choose the book that would allow me to have that discussion. What was the theme of that chapter in my mind? And so what were they going to discuss? So I chose the book that would reflect that theme, that point of discussion. So each book was chosen to reflect what I wanted.
Yeah, the goings on in that chapter.
Yes. And I really enjoyed that intellectually as the author doing it, but it also gave me an opportunity to, if you notice, the books followed, they even said, we recommend that you take this trail of books because it was a history of feminism in literature, from Gustave Flaubert all the way to through the Atonement, all, so that you would see how women were treated as characters in novels when they broke the rules. And when the author was a male, like Flaubert with Madame Bovary, or Tolstoy with Anna Karenina, if she has an affair or breaks the rules, we kill her. She's killed. Trains run over you. When it came later to, what was the book that was discussed for the suicide? Well, I'm sorry, I'm writing a novel as we talked about.
Yeah, your mind is filled up.
My mind is only about the river's end. I'm sorry, guys, it's going to be a great but later,
yeah, we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But I think you're segueing.
Women authors during the feminist period would have women commit suicide, and rather than make the choice to give in. And later, current fiction, women triumph. They walk off the stage and say, who cares? Because we have more freedom. But that history of literature always reflects two things: women talking about one another, women banding together, and the consequences of their decisions. So in that, the parallel story was this group of women. And they both talked about each other. They fought, but they supported each other in the end.
Right. Which I think segues into the next question I was going to ask, and I think you've just covered it, and that is about, after Annie has her surgery, the club looks for a book to help her through what's coming, and you've just touched on it. Books, they promote, we read about who we are, in books, and they do promote healing and growth and discovery. But one just little quick thing that you haven't touched on is that there is this desire in the club to read and discuss the Bible. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, I think it's probably the most influential book ever written. And, and I wanted to include it because it was a statement on my part that it's something to be looked at as not just in church we discuss the Bible and in terms of our behavior in a more lesson form to teach us. It's also a great story.
Yeah, full stories.
I think if any book was going to influence you, that one would. And I think even for people who don't believe that it's a book written by God, it's still a great book of our culture.
And how we, how humans live their lives.
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
So, pivoting now to the individual characters, the women who were in the book club, it seems to me that Eve is sort of the catalyst, sort of the central character. What was it about her personality that makes her sort of the center of the book club? Or did I misread that? And did you not intend for her to have a bigger role?
No, I think I identified with Eve when I wrote it. That man running out of the, I killed my husband. And I'm the love of my life, let me just say that. But, you know, I wanted, at 40, I wanted to mentally, I feel free. And the idea of downsizing, she downsized from this house to this.
Yes.
This apartment really exists in Oak Park, Illinois. It really is Oak Park, Illinois, and River Forest. It's outside of Chicago. And all those little places actually exist. And I just felt Eve to me, I gave her the name Eve as the first woman.
Yes.
I wanted everyone to identify with her. She may have the sin of the sin of leaving the garden. And I felt so. I mean, other than I could identify with most people, I liked Annie. I liked the personalities of all of them. I felt Annie contributed a lot with her feistiness.
She was progressive. She is progressive.
Yeah, she very progressive. And you know, I wanted them to be different enough so that we might recognize someone in our own book in these characters. I think Gabriella had a lot more to say. And as I said, I always meant to write the sequel, but then I moved to South Carolina and became a attorney in my own.
Yeah. And and Annie is kind of the antithesis to Doris, who has
Doris? Okay.
Yeah. She's more staid, you know, and she's having troubles and depression and the unfaithful husband. So
I'm sorry. What did you say about Doris?
She was a heroine. She was, okay, I named her Doris after Doris Lessing, the great feminist. And, you know, her characters were always in pain.
exactly. That's good.
There's always a Doris in your group, too.
Yes.
And
yes.
I wanted Doris to get a nose. And she did. And to me, when she was in the mud, and she was crawling out of the mud to save herself in that swim, that is like going way back, talking to the Bible. Inanna, which is pre-Bible. Inanna was the earth mother who crawled out of the mud. And that was in my mind where I wrote that scene. So Doris evolved more than any character.
Yes, she did. She does.
So Gabby, I think I know so many Gabbies, you know, who are this perfect wife and mother who takes care of everyone and has until her husband plays off. I mean, she has sort of this crisis and drops to the side. Do you know a lot of Gabbies? I feel like I know a lot of Gabbies.
I do. And I'm so glad to hear you say that, because I tried to create characters who would be commonly recognized. You know, the joke is I was in an intense book club like this when I wrote the book. And they all knew I was writing the book. And none of them, I kept saying, don't worry, you're not in the book. The joke of it is I moved. And the book came out after I moved. And they were all terrified that they were going to the book. In fact, they were not. But I was able to draw qualities from the differences of the women to create each of my characters. So I'm glad that you can identify somebody.
Yes. Yeah. and we've touched on Midge too, the last one, but I find it interesting that you say, because a lot of reviews or whatever call her a bisexual woman, but what you're saying, and you're the author, is that you weren't thinking that at all. She's just a woman who needs a hug.
That's it. I do not think she's gay. I don't even think at the time certainly in the 90s, we weren't talking bisexuality like we are. Again, I saw it more of a woman's need for intimacy. Right now, there's a trend for women who are Golden Girl age to actually, that TV show is ahead of its time, to live together so that they're not alone.
Yes.
Not safety and economy, but comfort. And when I lived in North Carolina, in my second house up there that I bought for my sisters, I ended up, redoing it and creating my own little niche. So I was in there. So when I went to North Carolina, my sisters and I lived together.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
It is.
Time changes. You make different decisions later. But I think that women coming together to live in a Golden Girl kind of way doesn't mean they're a bunch of gay or bisexual women.
No. It just, it's company, and you're not, I feel it all the time. You're not alone, you've got support and company.
Scary movie? Great.
I'm all for it.
We need to be open and free with our feelings and to touch and to be able to cry in front of someone, to give them a kiss on the cheek. And it's just, there's nothing wrong with it.
No, I agree.
So I know you were in the book club before, when you were working on this before you moved to South Carolina. Tell us about the book club or clubs you're a part of now. Several of the folks in the Lowcountry Book Club had asked if you were a member of a book club on Isle of Palms, and that sort of opens another avenue. So you will talk about book clubs and the ones you participate in. And,
I actually have been in book clubs when I wrote this book for about 10 years. I lived in Washington, D.C. We had a very active one. The most wonderful one was the one I had in Chicago, which encouraged me to write the book. When I came to Charleston, I was a member of one on the Isle of Palms and one in Charleston, in the city. And the one in Charleston I stayed in for about 10 years. And then my career just got so busy that I did not have time to read any books. Because I had started Friends of Fiction too, and all those books had to be read. That, it was just so. I also wanted to write books.
Yes.
So when you're writing a novel, for me, and I recommend it for other authors, I cannot read fiction, anything remotely in the area of what I'm writing, because words play in your head, and I don't want anyone else's words to accidentally slide. I've seen my words in other people's work, and I'm like, you recognize your babies, and I don't blame people. It's just that you just don't want to go there.
Yeah, I get it.
I think audiobooks, though, you can listen to audiobooks. I find it doesn't interfere. Isn't that interesting? I don't know the mental pathway of why not. But when I stopped doing book club because of lack of time, and I'm very particular about the books that I have so little time. And I think what everyone in the book club should consider is what this book club did, was they had a plan why they chose the books that they did. I think just picking popular books is often a disappointment because they're not necessarily the best books. Just because Jenna liked it doesn't mean the group liked it. There's a lot of political reasons why books are chosen. I just think books should be chosen that are relevant to the group.
right.
Yes, that's wonderful. And speaking of writing fiction, relevant to the group and many, many, many readers, And the fact that you need, when you're writing your book, you don't need to read other things. Tell us a little bit as we come to a close.
How's that book coming?
Yeah, how's that book coming? What's next for you? We're all excited and waiting.
Well, first of all, my apologies. When Marcus passed away, my publisher and everyone was so gracious, but he had ALS.
Right.
So I was his nurse, and it just takes the start. I mean, I was honored and privileged, but it was the focus of my life. And I was able to write, and I found that it was my refuge. And then after he passed, between moving and selling his estate, and I was on my left brain, and my right creative brain was like, nope. So it took a while to get back into it. And so I did a lot of sketches. I know this book. I wrote the outline 4 to 6 years ago. So I know the book.
Yes, it's in there.
It's in there. So now I'm settled, and I've been working diligently. I mean, I am right when I'm in this place that I'm in now in my head. I call it projectile. I could write 2 to 3 chapters a week.
That's amazing.
And it is. And it's just that I know what I'm going to say, and I've had it in my head, but I can't make that happen until my brain and body combine.
Oh, yeah.
But when it does, it's a real gift, and I'm in my head. I live in my story. So, like this morning, I had to go deal with flooding at the house and the home. And it was like,
Yeah, stop.
And when I was younger, back in the days of the book club, I could write all night, and I did.
Yeah.
I would wake up in the morning and just crawl to the computer and keep writing. I think I wrote The Beach House in 3 months.
I was
What
like,
is
writing.
I
I have never been able to do that.
But that is in my head. Usually takes a year or 2. But with research, it's definitely 2. Like this book, though, The River Sound, I've been doing the research for 40 years. So I know every detail. And it's coming along really well.
Good. And is there a projection of publication at this time or not quite yet?
I have a deal with my editor that at the end of August, I'd like to have the shitty first draft. And it's pretty clean, but I need to go through the whole book. So we're going to edit in the fall. And
Right.
maybe out in the summer, this summer. So if I hand it in by August, we'll have it in by summer. It'll come out this summer. But if I don't like it, it'll just be pushed back until
Well,
until
it's where you want it, until it's right.
this is so important. I wish I could have had the whole book in one, under one cover. But this is all. I think it should be a trilogy, to be honest.
Oh, I think it's great. I think it was a great sort of marketing thing, because now you've got all these readers chomping at the bit, so to speak.
They're mad at me. Don't be mad at me. I didn't plan on Mark to die.
But I'm just saying, look at the silver lining. It's good. Because what's wrong with anticipation?
Well, I actually said to my publisher, why don't you just make it a trilogy? I have enough material right now. I'm on chapter 26. So That's enough for a whole book. So you can have it. They could have had that this summer. But I think they were so upset because so many readers had written to them saying, "Where's the two? What happened?" And I have to say thank you for readers for feeling that, but I did my job. I told in my mind book 1, The Coming of Age. All of you read it, I hope. It ended. I answered every story question.
You did.
But then I put in that last little bit about 1988, the current period, where I asked all these questions. And I think that's what people go like, what?
Yeah, that's what's tantalizing.
Yeah, it's like who killed JR on TV? I don't think anyone would be disappointed. The best part is what I'm writing now. All book one was getting ready. So I
We can't wait, and there are a lot of folks who can't wait. So we're looking forward to it. We're hoping that you like where the book is at when you are finished with your fall editing and whatnot, and we'll get to see it
We'll
soon.
all look forward to it. And thank you for joining us today,
Yes.
Mary Alice. And it's so wonderful to see you in your new abode. And
I miss
it's
my
very happy, and that's good.
But you know what Stephen King said? He had this huge skating rink of a desk. He had become famous. And he was that all he did was do coke and drugs, and he couldn't write. So he threw away the desk. He took his old crappy little desk that he wrote all his people's books on, shoved it under one of the eaves of his house, and he started writing again. You don't need a fancy office.
Right.
Yes, we're here.
You're going to be my role model. I just want you to know I'm working toward where you are.
Aren't we all?
I mean, in terms of down. I'm not aspiring to be the writer you are. I just about the abode.
I love both of you. So,
Okay. We can aspire to both. All right.
well, why need a fancy house when you can go to the club there? How gorgeous that setting you're in right now.
We really do enjoy it. We enjoy visiting, and we enjoy getting to talk to you and our other authors. So thank you so much.
You're both so wonderful, and I can't wait to talk about this.
Great.
All right. Well, thank you so much. It's beautiful seeing you, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Yes.
Let's vote. Bye, Susan.
That's 30.